We talk about AI. A lot of stuff is going on here. And Andy, my co host, is with me. Uh, Andy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It is my son's birthday, so I'm going to say hi, hello, and then turn on all the stuff, and I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. Totally. Um, and give him a happy birthday from all of us here at the AI Biz Hour. And today, the AI Biz Hour is brought to you by our sponsors, Virtual Synergy Inc. What if you could free up hours in your day without sacrificing productivity? Successful entrepreneurs know the secret. They delegate. If you're looking for an employee to handle your administration, there's no better employee than a virtual assistant from Virtual Synergy Inc. Virtual Synergy Inc. connects you with skilled human virtual assistants who handle your administrative work, emails, and scheduling so you can focus on what truly matters, growing your business. No hiring stress, just expert support on demand. Stop managing tasks, start leading your business. And today is Friday, April 17th, here on the AI Biz Hour. And we've got a lot of news, we've got a lot of stuff going on. I keep on talking about networking and that this space is really good for that. I through this space, I've gotten to know Ross and a lot of people at Alisher and Sharon and a whole bunch of people from the tech and schools. Apologies on that. And and then through that, I have gotten to know other people. And then I also was accepted into the Innovators Think Tank Incubator. And through the space here, I have uh, formed a partnership, and we are going to be bringing this thing to investors and what have you. Uh, we're creating something to do with AI. And the person I'm working with is he's in the manufacturing industry and is really in a great place to bring a lot to the table. And so it's one of the main things that we want to do here online, and that's I think this is the power of X is networking. When you hear someone's voice, you get a feeling of who they are. You make a phone call or text offline. You probe each other in terms of asking questions to try to figure out who they are and where they are in the world and what they're doing, what they're capable of doing. And if the two of you seem to get along or whatever, I think that's Jason's created our um, Discord server where we're bringing in devs to kind of get to know who's who and who's capable of what. There's so much stuff that I've learned on the show. I've because of people like Sonnen and Graham, who are people who've uh, found their way out of a business where they sold it and made a bunch of money. So I am fortunate enough that I live here in Southern California, and I started going online, or started doing research. I started doing research with Grok. So I'm going to throw you guys in on some things. Every single one of you need to join my newsletter where I break down each show, and I've only sent out one where I've really done it so far. I'm going to tease them out a little bit, and then I think I'm gonna have to charge because it takes some work to do it. But there's like we have really quality. I don't care if there's 10 people in a room. I don't care if there's 50. That doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of the people that are here and what happens. That's where the that's where it's all about. What it's all about. So so we are now getting ready. We're going through assumptions in terms of I had assumption that people would want something that I have done work on. And then the nice thing too is because of the people that I've had here, I make prompts, I make AI agents at a pretty high level. And the person that I'm working with is has a different discipline than myself. He has experience with with manufacturing and engineering and what have you. And so he was able to see the prompts that I was making and able to determine that there was more value in them than I could see in terms of using it as frameworks for building other things. And I think that those people that can, and so now that I'm in the incubators, innovators think tank incubator program, it's forcing me to and my partner to kind of get our stuff in such a way that we present ourselves to investors, but then also with that work we can now present ourselves to other companies, B2B, whatever, and it's forcing us to get our ducks in a row to a certain degree. And the reason that I bring this up is that I think that there's people here that are doing things at all different levels of stuff, and that if you can find people that can show over time that they can do what they say they're going to do, which is easier said than done, and then find a way to move in a certain direction. Yet yesterday or 2 days ago, I went through Indeed, and I looked for prompt engineering jobs and like all the stuff that we're talking about here, like what's out there in the Indeed market right
Hey, John, yesterday I actually got an email that came to me through my process of marketing for my consulting company that was for a prompt engineer for a pretty small local kind of company. It's pretty interesting. So they're out there and the jobs are starting to show up.
Absolutely. And people are starting to articulate or define what they're figuring out they might need. But then again, like, uh Andy, like Sonnen will come here and periodically say, yeah, the LLMs went bonkers. So I mean, I think that, like, there people are starting to put these things into various situations, but it's still not, I don't think anybody could feel 100% comfortable that it's going to guarantee it's going to do what it says it's going to do without serious oversight for some time. Although there are things like analyzing stuff where the stakes aren't so high, but they're all, but just getting customers, the stakes are very high. You don't get customers, you're not going to be around. Any thoughts? And have you uh heard in the grapevine or anything? Because yeah, they're starting. I think also you're going to get, because there's so much noise in the industry and it's so new, you're going to get a spectrum of qualities of work. So there will be, because I see there's sales jobs where they're just like, oh yeah, you're going to make insane numbers. And at least we know in digital marketing, there's always a lot of companies that have a framework, get somebody into a contract, they're stuck, the quality work's not so great, they want to get out, and so I'm sure that there'll be a good amount of that in the market as well, which is good for people that actually bring good things to the table and do it consistently over time. Anybody want to grab the mic? Any thoughts on that, Andy?
Yeah, well, I saw Sorum and Lloyd. I just approved Lloyd. What happened to Lloyd? Hopefully well, maybe he's there, but I just said yeah for that. Anyway, jobs are interesting. LLMs in the enterprise, I think there's three levels of use right now of LLMs. The first one is for us individual kind of uh, people who are on the front edge of things. I usually call them alphas, right? They're the alpha testers. They're trying out the new stuff. And then beta testers are people who have delivered, enterprise level stuff, and they're testing to make sure that when it works, it functions. And then there's the enterprise level people. And I hear through the grapevine, companies are telling me, like, so I go to consulting conferences and CIO conferences and stuff, and they're promoting that their LLM on the back end is doing things like, interrogating networks and identifying vulnerabilities and managing data systems and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's probably true, but I also think that it's input to an engineer that goes, that's what I was going to do anyway. And now this thing will help me do my job 70% faster. And I think that's That's where it is at the enterprise level. Where it is at the middle level of small businesses and utilization, it's right now the biggest adoption is in things like marketing, content creation, marketing strategies. How do you identify KPIs? Basically helping people go from I know something to I know something more, like level 0 to level 1, level 1 to level 10. But I agree with you, John. I don't think it's at the, it'll take my company from a level 50 to a level 100. I don't think it's there yet. But if you know nothing, if you don't know anything about newsletters or anything about broadcasting or anything, you can say, how do I create a YouTube channel? And it'll just tell you. So essentially, for us kind of, I know nothing people in the space where you start, everybody starts there. If you want to learn about what tools are there to do content creation, what tools are there to host a newsletter, what tools are there to um, build a data system, what tools can I use to create a email drip process, what tools are there to find a hydrogen water bottle. It'll just give you the list. Essentially, it just shortens the timeline for a search engine right now. And that's what Shannon had talked about in the past, of everything being kind of like a toy. Essentially, it's Google, instead of giving you a list of places to go find the answer, just gives you the answer. And especially for if you're doing light programming, even deeper programming, if you say, I need to add a JavaScript pop-up window to my blog, how do I do that? And I'm using WordPress. It'll just tell you, you can use this plugin, this plugin, this plugin, or you can take this code and you can put it in this place. How do I enable Google Ads? It just goes, okay, grab this piece here. How do I enable the Facebook pixel so that it'll track my cohorts when they go to my blogs? It just tells you, grab this code, do this here, go to Facebook, click this part of it, put in this URL, grab your little key, put the key in this little section, grab the whole entire thing and paste it here. It's fantastic for that. I mean, it's unbelievable for that. And that will what I call level the playing field for everybody. It will give every single person the ability to do some web development, some marketing, some fulfillment, some delivery, some additional support. Things like,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm kind of at this place where, like, I'd like to hear from Crystal and from Josh, as well as Ray and Vladimir. I don't know if Vladimir's there. Yeah, Vladimir's here, and TBD. Just in terms of, what are your thoughts about over the next about number one, networking here on the space? I'm getting a little feedback, Andy. I think the mic's up. Okay,
Oh yeah, I'll fix it.
cool. But yeah, about like networking here with other people in terms of getting to know other people's abilities, because there's going to I really truly believe that anyone who Christelle, there, I saw on Indeed they're looking for somebody who knows AI and newsletters, what have you, blah blah blah. But there's going to be a need to be able to where where if you have relationships with people that can do quality work within this space, it is going to be a resource that's going to be very important, because people are saying again and again that there's trouble in terms of vetting people through resumes and other things, and that by having a group of people who each other kind of knows each other to a certain degree, can get on the phone call and they've seen their work and they know what they're doing. I think that that is going to be a real have a huge value moving forward, because there's so much noise, there's so much gobbledygook, and I think a lot of people that are going to go into the space are going to be half baked. That's my thought.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, okay, so if you look at it from a risk profile, here's the risk profile. Are you who you say you are? And the only way to prove that is if I can say, I know John, I can vouch for John, that's really John. That has 10 times more weight than John can use to create a custom version of his resume or his offer letter or his invoice that or his uh, proposal that he sends to other agencies. eventually face-to-face communication is now the premium, because you can use 11 labs and I mean, like the stuff we learned last night with AI tutor, you literally can just create the workflow and plug in the voice module, and it will literally take the picture that you auto generated, put in your script, read it in your voice, and then produce a lip synced version of some other thing. So you take all of that together. That means I can take my edited book and I can take a stupid headshot of me and put it into this system. And then I can use 3 to 10 to 30 seconds or whatever it needs to capture my voice and inflection and how I talk. And then type in the book and just go talk.
It,
And now the book will talk as if it's me with a headshot of me lip sync talking. And I didn't do any of it except for program it
yep.
or tell the LLM to do it. Crazy.
And the thing is, just like I have this guy I know, he made a movie and it was totally unwatchable. It was just the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And the worst part about it was the sound was horrible. But I showed it to somebody I know and they said, you know what the problem was? There was no one there to say no. And I think that just because people can now do all this stuff doesn't mean that it's all going to rise to the top or people are going to care. You do need people around to say no. You do need people to show, like, to kind of put some guardrails so you have some quality. So I'm gonna, Lloyd, I see you got your hand up, and then Vladimir. But I mean, yeah, sometimes just because you can't do it doesn't mean that you should. Lloyd, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? I got an
Yeah,
AirPod.
we can hear you.
Can you
Yep.
hear me? All right, cool. So, with the release of the ChatGPT 4.1, OpenAI released a help document with instructions or guidance on how to do prompt engineering. I posted the link at the top, whatever, so you can have a look at it. So typically, this is what I do, and I'm sure there's all kind of prompt engineering experts who advise against it, but I've never had any issues. But I always make a custom GPT to do my prompt thing. I give it instructions on how to go about prompting, and then every time I need a new GPT or need a new task done, I go to my specialized GPT for prompt, and I tell it what I want it to do, and it creates the perfect prompt for me. And so, what I would suggest is utilizing the guidance that now is provided directly from OpenAI on how to go about prompt engineering, and you can insert that into a custom GPT or whatever you may use. That's my, or use that as guidance for creating your prompts going forward, because there has been a shift and how the models work, and they're putting a lot more emphasis on following instructions. There's a few other things that you just go ahead and take the time to read the article that I posted.
A- Absolutely. I think that they're all realizing the better people can translate jobs or tasks into prompts, the more their LLMs are going to be used. So it's important for them to start to educate everybody on how to do it properly, because there's a huge difference between one prompt and another. And you can, like, I posted the other day, I turned Grok into an AI agent by giving it a prompt that said, this is step one, do X. Then step two, look at the answers to X and refine. And this is step three, and this is step four. And through the steps, I had it refine its outputs until went from like 15 to 3, and then identify why it got to that. What were the parameters of the attributes that it brought that larger group down to the smaller group, identify them, and then give me a hierarchy of why that's the best way to figure this answers out. And so by creating a more um, directives prompt that has certain beginning, middles, and ends within it, you can really turn the thing into a real agent that's much more than just the LLM itself. That's
Well, to be fair, Grok, um, and a lot of these new models are actually agents already. So you're not really turning into an agent. You're just you're just you're actually leveraging it to its fun. Like all of them are like, especially the new what's it, the old three that just came out, and the old four mini, those are agents. That and even with 4.1, those are agents, and that's the reason why they're ever able to leverage tools the way that they are. So all of the new models are pretty much agents. Um, I would say the new Gemini model, Grok. I don't know about Anthropics as of yet, but I'm pretty sure they'll probably release something new because they're the only one that's like really overdue for one. But yeah, all of them are agents already.
I have to agree with that. Yep.
Hey Lloyd, have you have you heard of the concept of an agent swarm? Kind of one orchestrator and then a swarm of agents going off and do stuff. Have you heard that, or have you heard that language, or are we just talking about the same thing and someone's using a funny, fancy word for it?
Lloyd,
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
now we can. Now
Hello?
we can. Now we can.
All right, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm having some good connection. I'm walking back into my Wi-Fi, so I apologize ahead of time. But I was saying that almost a year ago, OpenAI put out open source something called Swarm, which allowed you to kind of organize the like a swarm of agents. And also there was also something else called Agent Swarm already. So that was something I think was already in the works. And since AI kind of open sourced it, I'm pretty sure it has been something they've been working on for quite some time. Actually, this was almost a year ago they put out Agent Swarm. So
Well, I think that as these things get more complex. Yesterday we were on with tech in schools, and so we've both Andy and I uh, uh, got access to a tool that's pretty powerful, but it's comfy UI. And Robert Scoble was on yesterday saying the comfy UI is kind of the standard platform that a lot of these now agentic systems are being built on. So it's awesome that we've gotten access to that. And I think that I was dealing with it yesterday, and yeah, you can start seeing how complex these systems can get. And then also, when you start getting these agentic models, and it's really going to put a lot of stress on creating these prompts that are repeatable and very refined, when they become within an orchestra of agents. That's going to be a totally new level of playing with these things. I don't know if anybody here has done that. As I'd wonder if I saw Ray here earlier. I don't know if he's gotten to that point. I think. Oh, Ray, yeah. I don't know. Have you been doing agents together, orchestrated, or is there anybody else here who's gotten to that level? Lloyd, I see you got your hands up.
I've been I've been messing with a tool called Kogo AI. I got like a developer account with it like towards the end of last year, beginning of this year. And it's been pretty amazing. And what's cool about it, you know, I mean, I guess I don't know how people feel about it, but it allows you to create your own agents, with no code. And you can leverage any API that you want. You can string agents together. It's called Kogo AI. I had sent a link to it, I think, to Christelle like some months ago. But anybody's interested in it, it's a pretty cool tool for those who like either do no code or don't want to do any type of programming, or or even don't want to even have a AI model write it for them. It's a nice little tool that I've been playing with for about going on about 5 months
How
now.
do you spell that? Kogo?
Correct.
I'm gonna look into that. I'll put that in the bill. Ray, I see you grab the mic. How are you doing?
Hey, doing pretty good. Can you hear me, John?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome. Hi, John. Hi, Andy. Good to see you too. And we got some other people in here as well that I'm following. Uh, really wonderful that I've been able to find so many new people. Uh, just wanted to jump in a little bit and comment on the agent since yeah, you saw I was in here. I am doing something, so I got to run real soon. I'll just put this in the background. Um, but with the agents, I have been doing quite a bit of exploration, and in fact, with what I'm working on at Codelessly, uh, we're actually trying to we're going to be launching Codelessly agents, and what they do is the idea is that they give regular people like you, me, developers, writers, etc. You can make your own agents and essentially automate yourself. So the idea and the business model that I want to experiment there is uh, you as a developer or you as a business person, etc. You have all this knowledge, you have your own workflows, uh, all of that. That's really valuable, and uh, people need a way to essentially scale and automate and monetize that. So we're thinking about like, okay, how can we have, you just write your own agent, you upload your processes, workflows, and there's, certain knowledge that you have that's valuable. And then you can either deploy it as an MCP server, or you can deploy it as a codelessly agent, and people can, mention the agent and then use it to get things done. So that's what I'm experimenting with, and hopefully we can launch that pretty soon. Codelessly, the AI builder part will be launching very soon as well, probably like next week. We're testing production. We're trying to get the promo video and marketing campaign and things like that. Um, the advice and knowledge here that I want to interact with the community with and perhaps provide a little bit of expertise is that there are a lot of new agent things being launched every single day. And what's really incredible for me is that I'm learning so much about all these new tools. Like you just mentioned Kogo. I didn't hear about that. I just pulled it up and wow, there's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of things to learn and try. So there's also a business model behind it. I think that's also very fascinating. And what I love, your spaces, John, is that you have this business mindset. So with all these agents, uh, there is a very interesting dynamic going on where uh, a lot of these tools you might come across them and they actually don't work for you. So that actually speaks to how agents you do have it really depends on the person and your pre-existing context that you have, like what are you trying to do, who are you, and what the task is that you're trying to do. So for example, if you have a workflow that's building TikTok videos or building marketing, that's completely different from a workflow, say, if you're a developer. And even as a developer, it's even more nuanced where you have, like, say, you're trying to get agents to write code, or you're actually trying to build agents for your business, employ it into your business. So whatever I can speak about is, and where my expertise is in deploying and building these agents that are a little bit lower level and integrate more into, say, a development workflow and a business workflow. So there's a lot of room for me to learn about agents from all of you, and that's what I'm doing. Uh, there's so much to learn in these other areas, but yeah, that's just where my expertise and where I can comment a little bit on.
Thank you. I mean, it's it's really important. You know, just like I've been doing marketing for 15 years, so I've pretty been much remote working, and you know, everybody gets in their silos and they can only engage with those around them or whatever. And so I think, you know, as we get into the society where it's less you rub shoulders with peers because you're in the same building, to have rooms like this and to share, I think is really, really important. This and what you said is so great to hear. Um, because I think that brings so many more opportunities when everybody knows very specific things about whatever their background is or their profession. And is your and yeah, you can't do everything. Like I'm going through this process with the Innovators Think Tank Incubator Program, and so I'm testing my assumptions, and we're going to make tests for that and be kind of very methodical about how we come up with answers before we really implement and decide what the heck we're going to build. And I think maybe we can try to bring that to this room a little bit because that's I'm learning it's a really good process. Did you have anything formal like that before you started coming up with your agents, Ray?
Let me just dump a little bit of knowledge, and then I got to run, but I do want to provide a little bit of value and something for you to look into if you want for a little bit of homework. So a little bit the background I have is that I've seen companies over time over the past few years they tried to integrate AI into their products or build AI solutions and there's been a lot of fumbling. A lot of people who, and since we're all trying to figure things out while we go, it's not been that formalized. So there's a lot of time or either money wasted, and then you have solutions that aren't really fully automated. They're quite brittle and they require developer support over and over again. So what you're actually doing is you have a developer, you're paying developer to build an AI solution, and then the AI solution now you're paying the AI solutions bill, the AI bill, in addition to the developer to maintain it over and over again. Okay, so there is now a much more formal way to build AI solutions for businesses. And this is like if you know this knowledge, with how AI works, a lot of it is really knowledge gated. So if you know the knowledge how to do something, uh, then you can do it, and if you don't, you can't do it. And that knowledge is really valuable. So hopefully, you know, I'm not giving away any secrets here, um, but I do want to provide a little bit of value. Uh, the way you formalize and really have a engineering level AI integration into business is with something called uh, trace, eval, and optimize frameworks. So there's this subset, and uh, people have been working on, and it's becoming more and more formalized called trace, evaluate, and optimize. So over the past few years, you've seen trace solutions. So what trace solutions are they're an intermediary layer or they're a code snippet um, that shows your usage and the performance benchmarks of your AI calls. So there's something called like L.so and my favorite open source trace framework, uh, ELL.so, uh, and other tools, quite a few like that, like LangChain uh, .dev. They released one, LangChain Watch, I think. There's also LangFuse. So those are some of the top trace frameworks. All right. So once you have the tracing, what more and more companies, and including the ones I mentioned before, you now have the evaluation step. So you evaluate the performance of your API calls, and now we're talking about the API or AI API performance across, a business, and in business context where there's scale, uh, you're looking at the performance of that. More recently, what's the most interesting is now the optimized part. So you probably heard this, DizzyPy, DSPY. That's a framework that's essentially helps you automate the optimize and evaluate portion of your AI solutions. So that's sort of the more and more formal process that people are getting towards. And uh, yeah, if you wanna really build AI solutions, or you're being paid to build solutions, but you really want to capture the value somehow. Uh, and this is really good info, so it makes you a lot more valuable, and you can save businesses a ton of money because you prevent just people messing around and not knowing what to do. You can actually scale AI experiments. You can do hundreds of more AI experiments than you would be able to do otherwise. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Um, Eval, trace, and optimize frameworks, DizzyPy, DSPY, and finally there's an open source platform and a company that puts all this together. I won't name it now, but maybe for another time. But that's a little bit of homework, so if you want to look into that.
Ray, you are a mensch. Just, that is huge. I hope everybody kind of appreciates what Ray's just shared with everyone. But that's the wonderful thing about this space is there's some people who come in here and bring some huge gems. I take notes. I constantly have a notebook when I do my space, and so I'm taking notes, and I highly recommend that everybody do that as well. But Ray, thank you so much. I know you got to get back to work. I really, 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 really appreciate you stepping in, grabbing the mic, and sharing what you shared with everybody.
Yeah, thanks, John. Not trying to, and just tying it, full circle. Uh, this is very, very specific to integrating and scaling AI in businesses. So I am a complete beginner in all other aspects, and I'm just happy to be able to provide the little bit of info that I have. Well, I will get going, but I'll have you in the background and learn from you, and see you all next time.
Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you. Andy, any thoughts?
I was taking notes too. I love it. That our goal here is to help everyone make money and use AI to either decrease their effort, increase their quality, decrease the time to complete a task, and turn those opportunities into monetary rewards, right? More revenue, less expenses. And it's really a bummer. I saw Vladimir was on the stage and even had a speaker, and he must have had to go somewhere else, but I was hoping he could help add to that too. But yeah, love the conversation, Ray. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I assume that everybody's, if I'm driving or rarely is my thing always there. So we've got a lot. Dandy, any thoughts on? So I have prompt engineering. Um, I've created a agent just for making prompts, and now I'm going to go through all my prompts and get them specific for each outcome. Like the amount of layers to this stuff is crazy. But so I would love to hear from anyone else if they're creating libraries of prompts or various actions or
Well, but see, John, what you're going through is the logical process of systems design. And that is you can create one big giant tool to do the cool things, but then you need it to do 10 things. So then you break the big giant tool into 10 parts. And then you add a layer on top of it to create orchestration, where you say, okay, do step 1, step 2, and then, oh, by the way, if condition, do step 3, if some other condition, do step 4, and then you do step 5 and sticks it. Yeah. This is just the normal progression of solving data problems with computers. And all we're doing now is, instead of creating and writing the modules or the code or the script or the DLL or the function, or there's 100 ways to name it. Instead of calling that, what we're doing is we're just prompting the LLM to do that task. And again, if you're using your own LLM on your local machine, like with LM Studio or Olama, which is the two primary ones, you can go into the parameters and turn the temperature down. If you turn the temperature down to 0.01, you're going to get a consistent response all the time. And what happens is you increase the context window and you turn the temperature down, and you can put in more inputs and get consistent outputs. The problem is that with the public systems, you don't have any control over how many steps it does to refine its result, what the inference model is actually using, or the size of the context window that it's either going to accept as input or produce as output. And so we're starting to tiptoe right on the edge of using the tools and turning them into something that is more functionally, programmatically results driven, instead of kind of the toy mentality. How do I fix the plumbing? What parts should I ask for when I go to the store? What are the right questions to ask a plumber? If you know zero about a topic, LLM will get you somewhere fast. If you know a little bit about a topic, it'll get you further. If you know a lot about a topic, it's going to be functional, whether it can help you go faster or not. And that's the way it is, right? It's like my first one was about my first custom GPT that I spent a huge amount of time prompting on, was about reviewing contracts, something that I do weekly for the last 20 or 30 years. And so I have a huge amount of personal knowledge about how to do it and what I'm looking for. So it was easy for me to take that knowledge and convert it into a prompt. Right? It's a little more challenging if you have no knowledge about that. And what are you looking for? You don't know what you don't know, unfortunately. So we're starting to tiptoe into the logical methods of processing large amounts of data. And that's cool, because that's common. And that is, so John, what you described as the way to either create orchestration or multiple layers of calls or multiple calls, okay, that skill set, because of what we've talked about in the past, instead of thinking like a developer, you have to think more like an architect. An architect designs a system that says, this is the orchestration layer, it's going to call these 10 things. That skill set is deficient in most people.
Yeah, well,
They've never had to do it before.
I think,
and so now we're learning it. It's cool.
I think though, because they're called large language models, that the exercise that's best is taxonomy, or understanding language, because they're large language models. So understanding all the ramifications of language, how to disambiguate language, and all this other stuff and then pare that down. And then within specialties, what is agreed upon definition of terms that changes.
Right. And with your vast experience in SEO, which really is either language as an input or language as a meta inference, you are perfectly positioned to take these same concepts and turn them into all the cool stuff you're doing. So, but here's the problem. The majority of humans do not focus on language as a primary skill set. We just use it to order food and get to where we're going. But very few people study language like you have with SEO and what to use, what not to use, what benefits you, what hurts you. you have an amazing amount of ability and such a great skill set to lead this kind of a discussion. It's awesome.
Well, thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. I see we have hands up. Shall we go with Torsom, and then we'll go back, and then Lloyd?
Good evening, gentlemen. Now is so lovely. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's great to keep up with what you guys are doing because really adds perspectives to the journey of AI. I'd been doing a lot of things with AI prior to a couple of years now, and I was doing a lot of image generation. I did videos. I did looked at a lot of software with a lot of friends for global stuff, humanities, legal, looking at different kind of things for technology. I come from a technology background with RS components, so working with a lot of Bosch, Siemens, sensors, technology, chips, working with about 500,000 products at one stage, right? So I had so many different brands working with, and we used to have calls, for example, coming in for support for engineers. NASA, all kinds of companies would contact the company because we working on in time delivery. So you can imagine downtime in a company, right? One product goes wrong, your entire manufacturing process comes to a halt. You lose a lot of money. So a small chip in your inventory to the really really expensive high end products, and you'd have to get them there in time as well. So that was another system we needed, which was SAP, for example. So the reality is that those components are so complicated that you really need top technical teams sitting there and giving these people support on the ground. And then you have smart, really high end testing tools, right, to check what's going on as well. You have sensors, all kinds of sensors. Like, for example, you're making bread. There's a really high end sensor which can work at really high temperature. So within all these new systems, there's, for example, coming up with CNC printing, 3D printing machines, which are just coming up really, really high end. This is for spaceware products. So, for example, you're developing something really, really high end, and you need it to the nano scale. It can be a silicon chip, for example, or it could be something you're doing with wave technology. So I've added a video underneath, guys, underneath this post space. And what I find really ironic is that with AI, the way we can do material sciences is one thing. The way we can do engineering, skeleton, aerodynamics, thermodynamics is another really cool concept, because now you're going into a new technology building things, right? And along all of that, you've got a lot of graphic tools as well. You've got system tools as well. Sorry, it's just early morning in my place. So I find that the evolution is really, really fast. What Mr. Andy spoke about was incredible, guys. Like, seriously, if you've just learned about this stuff, go back and listen to Mr. Andy and the gentleman before, because they shared the most critical thing within that framework. If you can understand that framework, guys, doesn't matter what you've done in software. Just remember that you got like a couple of tables and you're correlating the data. Just imagine that, like multiplication, right? And so if we can look at what languages, guys, would be really, really important for developing those kind of hit skills for engineering, focused on engineering, because I've done web development, I've done a lot of different IT. I come from an IT background as well. Come from a family with industries, all kinds of different things going on. Also Toyota at the background of when I was really so young, I started and had some networks there as well. The fine thing with Toyota, for example, was Kaizen, continuous improvement. And AI is also that. Like, you keep looking at mentors and feedback loop. And what I find is that within AI, this scripting which this gentleman was speaking about is so critical, right? And that is what people, the command prompts, the command prompts, the command prompts. And what he spoke about was how to develop a really good software around making good command prompts. Because I think if we focus on that, and the next stage is going to be different AIs coming together and talking to each other, we can get a good outcome and a more better continuous loop for these AIs to speak to each other, and what coding we should use, because there's new languages coming up all the time. And the confusion I find is like, hey, what language do I want to learn now? And that is something I would love to learn about from you guys. Like, what are the top 3 languages you're looking at right now for different things?
Well, the group here is not all devs. We do have a Discord space. If you want to DM myself, get a link for that, where we're having devs come in and kind of vetting them to kind of see who they are and what's going on. Because that's, what's the point unless you can kind of find out who's there. And a lot of us are business folks, business consultants, and then devs and then investor. There's some people who run businesses that come here on a regular basis, so it's kind of a networking thing in that way. Andy, you want to add anything?
I every time we talk about programming and producing some kind of measured result, the method we use is always going to end up being logically the same because humans think logically. The challenge we have with LLMs is that they can absorb large amounts of data and they can produce different kinds of inputs without using the logical construct that we have. And one of the challenges is going to be that we don't know the method that we used as the input correlating to the output. And that's a challenge. The results may be sufficient. We may be able to test results and produce or accept the results are within the parameters of what we're looking for. But without knowing the how we got there, there will be organizations that will say no, and or they will still go back to the old method of manually creating the algorithms, manually creating the case statements, manually creating the files, and not using a large learning model. Unfortunately, that's always going to be the case, but eventually it will become passe, because as the models continue to use, John, you and I've seen this since September. First, it was, here's the 5 or 6 primary models. Now there's 100 of them. And of those primary models, they've come out with 6 or 7 iterations each. And other companies like DeepSeek and some others, DeepSeek's just the most obvious one, where they took the Chat GPT model from OpenAI 2 and then trained it themselves and then produced a new model. We're standing on top of shoulders, on top of other shoulders, on top of other shoulders. The new models are going to come out more frequent and faster and better and more defined and more niched down. And eventually we will have to rely on them because the speed at which they can produce information is just it's not going to be worth it to go back. And to use a dumb example from way back, if 50 years ago in the 70s, you would have a programming team that would bring out code because compute cycles were so expensive that you would bring out code and you would have a peer review with 11 other guys or 11 other people in your team. They would go through your code line by line and question every single thing, every memory allocation, every time you moved from here to there. And they would question, why did you do that? How could we do it better? Do we have to do that step? And those peer reviews produced better code than you could do by yourself. Except today, because compute is so easy and so cheap, and you can literally just spin up a you can buy elastic compute and elastic storage from AWS. It's just $1 cost. So your code can be inefficient, but if you have enough people buying it, it doesn't matter. Because the revenue generated from what you're doing overcomes it because you can elastically just spin up a new VM, add your code to it. That's what Fortnite does. Fortnite doesn't own 5 million servers. Fortnite has an elastic relationship with storage. They, when they're busy, they buy more compute. And when they're not busy, they buy less compute. And because that capability exists today, then the code reviews of the past of questioning, why did you move it here? Why didn't you move it 2 steps instead of 3 steps? Why do you even need that step in the process? And the same thing's going to happen with LLMs. LLMs will be so ubiquitous, so included in everything, and so easy, so cheap, and so available that you will just end up relying on them because it's just too expensive to do anything else.
Just have one quick question for you, sir, because you just really nailed it for me. You also see different AIs coming together and looking at how well they are competing with each other, making that same code, right? And that's going to be really intriguing, I think, because if you see 4 or 5 different top AIs coming together and computing a good code, they're going to learn from each other. So that's going to really multiply the speed of growth, right?
Yeah, I see two. It's an interesting question. I see two things happening, and then I'm going to have to go because I have a call right at 1. The two things I think are going to happen is that there's going to be 2 or 3 or 4 primary ecosystems, kind of like there's the Apple way of doing software and the Microsoft way of doing software and the open source Linux way of doing software. And there's really not anything else. And so you can live in the Apple ecosystem and go through their checks and balances so your software can be included in that ecosystem of those users. Or you can go through the Microsoft system, or you can go through the Unix Linux system, and with the packages and Debian and GNU and all that stuff, right? But I think the same thing's going to happen with LLMs. There will be I'm guessing, OpenAI came out and said they're going to create a social network. So I think they're probably going to say we have a social network and we have a shopping cart or an ecosystem or a catalog or whatever they're going to call it. So you can just go there and say, I want to use this one, this one, this one, this one. And you can and the APIs will automatically connect to each other. You don't have to work on it. I think that's the next piece, is where you're going to say, I have this orchestration API, and then I need to call the data API, followed by the validation API, followed by the map geosynchronous API, followed by the results API, and then take the entire thing and put it in the web UI so it goes out to my website. Stuff like that. It seems logical. I'm probably wrong, but it seems like that's going to be the case. But then inside that ecosystem, they're all going to share data with each other. And I think that there's an opportunity at this moment in time to capture your own personal data, put it in your own data system, and then charge people for using your data. But if I could figure that out, if we could figure it out together, then, we can be billionaires. But I don't know. Something like that's going to happen. I think I'm in the right direction, but, time will tell. Anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. Make sure you follow our sponsor, Virtual Synergies. They're a virtual if you need a VA, they have fantastically trained people for very inexpensive prices, like $9 an hour, to get a well-trained English-speaking VA from Virtual Synergies. Please follow them. They're fantastic sponsors, and they help us out. So thanks again, John. I'm going to turn it back over to you, and you guys have a great day. Bye.
Thank you so much, Andy. And it's good to see that everyone's here. Lloyd, I see you got your hand up. All righty. Well, I don't know. Nick, I see that you're here. You want to grab the mic? That would be fun. Or Juan Carlos, or I don't know, Julie, or somebody, Christopher, Philip, Jero. We'll see. I can just keep on talking. I don't know if that's really what I'm going to do, but we'll see about how much I'm going to continue to move on. Let's see what do I have? Fifth column.
Mr. Double Dutch?
Yes.
Hey, yes. What's up? How you doing? John, right? Yeah, I see that.
Yes, that's
Sorry,
right.
I was my phone's Oh, we got Charles
Yeah.
next. He just got his hand up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
Hello?
who's speaking
Yeah,
now?
we can hear you, Charles.
Goodness gracious.
So let's one at a time. If this just a little order out of chaos.
Hello?
Is who's speaking now? Is this Lloyd, or is this Fifth Column, or Charles? I hear somebody breathing. Fifth Column, is that you?
No, that's the guy who I thought his hand was up. I thought that was
Well,
yeah.
you were talking. Just continue what you were saying.
Oh, okay. Well, Hey everybody, Adam here, good friend of John Carlos, and just started coming by. Well, I do a space where we talk about futurism, and you know, I think of 6 months ago, the topics were a lot more like the perils of AI, and the kind of trope of it was talking about the taking over. But now it's more like we're talking about industry takeovers, and a lot of people who are using the tech in creative ways. um we're all, it's harder and harder to talk to people who haven't kind of put their feet in it all. um which is good, because we're going to be the ones who will still have work in 5 years, hopefully, God willing. um but yeah, I was just my mother actually reached out. Well, she said she wants to get more into, it's helpful. She's not tech illiterate. And I was just wondering if you had any easy beginner avenues I could send her down that you know
Well,
would be helpful.
I love that. I love this. What does your mom do? What's her background? Formal
Yeah, so
education?
she's been a realtor the past 20 years. She hates it, but school teacher before then, college degree, master's, whatever.
Nice, nice. And so would she so I kind of believe that there is a value in being an authentic human being as we move into this. Like if you have like history of you being like kind of an authentic human being over a period of time, I think that's going to um it's I hope for whatever reason that there's going to be something to that. And the idea that an AI robot is going to get certified in the state of California to be a realtor and sell property, that ain't going to happen anytime soon. So I think that you know, it, there's for social marketing, whatever, digital marketing, all the kind of stuff that realtors, they got to get out there and do some PR work, get their name known, get awareness, and all this other things. There's a lot that can be done with AI. It really depends on the quality of your prompting. Chat GDP, everybody, I don't like chat GDP anymore, but that's me. But something like that, or Claude, or Gemini, Gemini 2.0, just any platform that she's most comfortable with. She uses Gmail a lot. Maybe Gemini is the right way to go. And then just start getting her, into prompting, and say, hey, write content for me, or go to chat gdp and get a picture of a house in whatever town. Some of these things work better than others. I was actually There's a image prompter, and I was saying, do an image of the corner of Wilcox and Hollywood facing east at sunrise. And that's pretty well known, Wilcox and Hollywood, that street corner right there. But it couldn't get anything close to actually what it looks like. So I don't know.
And I think this what you just said, I think that's kind of what I was touching on at first. Like, when I started answering her questions, she, stopped me after a few minutes and said, I have no idea what you're talking about. So trying to view things from her perspective, I don't think she would be able to follow much, because she doesn't know what Gemini is, or Claude, right? And, you say prompt, and it's kind of like just asking it to do things. But I think there's like a little bit of a learning curve. And I know she had asked for like reading materials. So I was just wondering if you
Yeah, I mean,
happen
YouTube has so many things on there, and YouTube is one of the greatest places to start to learn anything. And just say, I'm a beginner with AI. Where do I go? And she'll watch some videos. She'll find somebody she likes. There's enough people out there, and then she can start to go down that road. I mean, for me, I work with professionals, and at first it was really difficult for that to get any of the people I consult with to even think about using it, and then finally they would use it, and then they're like, wow. And but it takes a while. It's a bit of a learning curve, and I think everybody that does AI, just in the circle of people around them, it takes a while to get people adopted.
It,
My father is a
it's
physicist. He calls it chapstick. He freaking go on. I'm sorry.
but it's not really like I think we make learning how to use these large language models way too complicated, and it's a lot easier than what you realize. If you want to learn how to use it, just ask it. Like it's really that simple. Just say anything to it. Literally,
I
say anything
but
to it.
there is,
Yeah.
in my
Uh,
experience, there is a bit of
We're just I hear you. I hear you, but I'm like I actually teach people like this, and just say anything to it, and then the way you really capture people's interest. I usually leverage Chat GPT, so I turn on Chat GPT. I turn on the advanced voice, and I even turn on the camera so they could actually see it like just how easy it is to actually interact with it. And so I'll point it towards an object, and I'll start asking it questions about the object. I'll point it to a plant, like what kind of plant is this? What is the condition of this plant? What should I do? Like if it says something like it looks like it needs help, what should I do to make this plant healthier? And it's that simple. Point it at any vehicle. It's going to tell you the at least the range of the make, model, and year of that vehicle. Like all you really have to do, seriously, just at least we're talking about beginners getting started, is just ask it. Say anything to it, and it's going to respond. You don't like when it gets to trying to get complex tasks done, you got to understanding prompting kind of helps, but even with that, it can still help you with that. It can help you write a prompt. Like it can help you at least get started writing functional prompts. This is the easiest tool when it comes to how advanced technology has been. This is the easiest tool to get into because all you have to do is talk to it. And if you don't want to type to it, turn on advanced voice. Most of these models, most of these companies are producing it where you can just talk to it and get a response from it as well. It is nowhere near as hard as what we're making. I promise you it's not.
I don't disagree with you. It's just in my experience, some people have had mental blocks, and it is a conversation. They don't. I haven't found one person that immediately runs to it and says, "Oh, But yeah, and the lowest barrier is just to ask it, "What can you do for me?" or "How do I use you?" or any of those things. I think you're absolutely right. Um, and like my brother, finally he listened to this space a couple times, and then he's like, oh, now I get it. And even people who I've gotten to at least look at it, and these are accomplished people with PhDs, they still they're saying the engineers are the ones that are the worst or having the least adopter. Certain, I think, people with a certain high level of education and whatever, they they're they're pushing back a lot, and maybe it's because they feel threatened. I don't know. I'm not sure. So Charles,
I think it is because they feel threatened. I definitely think like because it couldn't be anything else. Like I think that when you put in so much hard work to get to a certain point, what you don't want a lot of times is seeing someone else take a shortcut to get to where you are, or to get the results that you're able to pursue. That's what a lot of people I think are fighting with. Is the fact that AI has made these things so much easier, and especially if you're making a living doing these things. Like if you're making a living doing web design, you're making a living, doing development. You know, people have already been, this has been a field that's already been somewhat cannibalized for the last few years before there was AI, like the no code and some of the generators and all these other things that have come into play. And then you have, boom, the large language models that is putting, that is number one, cost less than nothing to start using, and then two, the type of results that you're able to get from these things is making people, to a certain degree, in my opinion, devalue these skill sets. which were skill sets that people, in my opinion, unless you're somebody who tried to get involved with, you didn't fully appreciate already. So now it's these skill sets that people didn't really appreciate that now are being even further valued, with the introduction of LOMs, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, who knows their psychology, but being concerned. And yeah, when people get emotional or have a strong feeling, sometimes they're not even sure what it is or why it is. Charles, I see you got your hand up, and then Matt.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Charles from Nigeria. I'm the founder of Sysmax Technologies, and we are the proprietors of Swift Cloud ERP, a business management software used to streamline operations of companies. And we're focused on the African market. So I've been following this space, and it's interesting the kind of ideas I hear you talk about here. Although I can say most of them are kind of high level for me, because I'm still trying to explore the possibilities of deploying artificial intelligence in our ERP solution. But I think what inspired me was, I think I found that on X, where someone shared that you rather than try to build your own model, it's better you try to take advantage of existing platforms, because as a software developer for about 15 years, I was actually thinking of building a model for the ERP software. But that article that I read on X actually inspired me to sort of try to use the existing models that are available. So for me, it was tough, trying to implement AI. But what we started with was just a simple agent that would help with prompting, making corrections, and sort of fine tuning in terms of text generation. So for the ERP software, we made sure that we found about 20 different parts of the software where we had users typing long text and all that. And we just added the assistant agent to enable them just easily, prepare or fine tune whatever text they've entered. And it's been exciting because the feedback from the clients has actually been quite impressive, because some of them would need to move to a word processor or maybe chat GPT, type whatever prompt they want there, and then get the result and come paste it in the software. But with this now, they are able to easily do the work on the software. So it's a lot of value add from the feedback that we are getting. However, as it is with software development, once you get this feedback, you want to keep improving and making changes. And we've now started seeing other areas that we can implement AI. So one of the areas we're looking at currently is the ERP has a blogging module, and currently, yes, it's able to assist in drafting the any blog article. But we're now seeing opportunities to even automate that process completely, like maybe once in a month. If you want, let's say, 10 articles in a month, the system should be able to sort of generate those articles based on the data it has about you, your interest, and all that. So we're thinking of automating those aspects. And we started taking some steps in that direction already. So the point is, for me, I think it was just taking that leap and starting first. And then we are able to now see other opportunities to make changes. And I'm very excited because I'm someone that's not really scared of version one. Like, no matter how buggy and wacky it is, I know that version two is going to get better and all that. So I'm happy to actually learn a lot from what you are talking about. Although you guys talk about a lot of very high level stuff, but I'm still learning, and thought I should share um, um, details about my journey with you.
Charles, thank you so much. And yeah, I think that when you get into the habit of using these tools, they're it's like a calculator, but it does help your productivity increase. And if you have skills in a certain profession or industry, you can definitely leverage these tools to save time, kind of improve and target output. And it does, I think, give you advantage against a team of people that aren't using them. So yeah, and I'm thanks for coming into this space. I mean, the one thing is like I think it's important everybody get to kind of know each other here in the space. So hopefully you can come back again. And the more you contribute and talk and kind of share what's going on, the more you get other people get to know you. And I think that there's always a benefit in that. Is there anything else you want to add, Charles? But it's cool to hear your story, and I definitely want to hear more.
Okay, yes. So I think I just want to ask a few questions because one of the features I was trying to build in was so for the ERP software, it has an inventory control and an accounting module. And I was trying to implement some kind of a feature where like a user could pretty much ask any question about your sales, compare sales between products, projections, and things like that. And the approach that I started with was sort of sharing the structure of a database with ChatGPT. And frankly, from the test that we ran, we were able to get about 50% accurate results because it was able to, with the structure, generate SQL queries. And then once it gets the results, it analyzes and shares them in simple language. So that was what we did. But achieving 60% results for me isn't good enough because the benchmark we set was at least 85%. So I sort of tried to tweak that and then rather generated the queries for it so that it just runs the queries and then analyzes, then gives us the result. Now we get better results, but it means that there's a limit to the kind of questions and prompts that the users can actually ask, which is some kind of a challenge. So the question I think for me is, having given that background, how would you, if there's a professional here, how would you approach a situation like this?
So I'm not a developer, I'm not a programmer, and if there's somebody here who has a good specific answer for that, we'd all love to hear it. One thing is I think you have to kind of do what it can be done at a level that is expected when you're doing it professionally for business, which, nobody cares about excuses. It's got to be done right, all the time, and or at least so much of the time that if it's not even noticeable. Otherwise there's a problem. And with AI currently, there's I wouldn't say that everything's falls into that category. So yeah, you got to see what you have when you have it. And that's kind of one thing that we're all in, is this learning process. I mean, when I first started working with Chat GPT, everyone said it had no memory at all. And now after 6 8 months, whatever it's been, now it supposedly has very good memory. Now we'll see what it's like with it, and how much can enterprise count on it. I don't know. So we'll it's a work in progress. And it makes me excited in the sense that there's so much noise out there. There's going to be so many half-baked ideas. There's going to be so much lame product because people aren't so demanding that it's really right, which I think is going to give a lot of opportunity for people who know what they're doing and can do it consistently and repeatably, on a regular basis, and don't overpromise and do what they say they can do, and do that well. That will be something that people will pay attention to. Matt, are you there, Matt?
Yeah, I'm here. Hold on 2 seconds.
I'll just like to add to that if it's okay. I think I think you just spoke really well, and you've really looking into it. And what the gentleman just shared is that you really need to benchmark your quality processes and see what your journey is going to be about and how long you're going to spend on that journey and what your output is going to achieve you. Because mapping that is critical because there's so many things happening in AI, right? How do you do a good business intelligence on your product or your solution you're making by using the best tools. And the tools are moving so fast. Um, and so, just like the gentleman said, both you gentlemen, um, this really needs to have good business intelligence. And for that, even the command prompts are really critical because you want to know what's the best solution for you. You want to map it strategically, measurably, attainably, realistically, tangibly. And then you also have to look at your cost structure, right? And like you spoke, you can really use virtual machines and maximize your productivity and your resources. So I think finding that map for yourself and how long you're going to take on that journey, how much time you're going to spend on it because things are moving really fast, and how you're going to work with qualitative people to bring out the best results. So I think some really important mapping. That's what I'm taking from it that I would need to do moving forward if I was looking at anything, because I'm looking at a couple of things in the pipeline I want to do with linguistics, languages, converting some languages, working on some specialized software for bots, for example, different things, right? And working with different people. Um, and I think the most important thing is you really need to be really well managed for that. Like program management is one thing, but you need to really program direct, have a direct director level plan, so project director, and then you look at least on a piece of paper, a simple paper, or map it so you can actually see where your journey is. And I think the gentleman spoke about concising somebody's profile a while ago. So looking at, hey, what did this guy speak this week? What did he spoke about? And I had given a recommendation with Doctor Therapy and some others, conscious spaces, about having a system where we can actually put that on a brain map so we can see what this person is progressively growing, because it helps patients, helps a lot of people reflect who are going through, a lot of issues technically with life or with work or with just improving yourself for a child, right? So I think some really qualitative points were brought out. So I thank you for putting those out. And any reflections on that, what I said would be amazing.
Well, yeah, I think you're right, and I think that Ray said it earlier. This is what everybody needs to write down in their notes and check: trace, evalve, and optimize. And I think that's kind of a measuring system that is starting to be used uh, um, regularly. So I'm going to do my research, figure out what all that is, and how to quantify these things, so we can, show to businesses that what we have something that has some value, that is measurable and consistent and repeatable. Those I think are the phrases that people are going to want to hear. Matt, are you there? If not, I think I'm going to end today at around 1:30. Does anybody
Just had to say, like, qualifying data is critical. What do you think about that? Because, like, we got so much bad data going on at the same time, right? And how do you qualify what's good data? Because people's feedback could be bad to that AI, right? And the AI just sucking that bad data in. So something around that would be, yeah, critical. Any thoughts on that?
No, but I'm going to close up in a couple minutes. So, but it's something that's a work in progress in terms of trying to. Y- I I was like, so I asked, I'm asking a lot of questions now to Grok and other LLMs, like what is the more valuable data? Somebody stated here the other day, and I knew it, but I didn't really think about it. But the majority of polls in North America have a group of 2,000 people, and that's uh, they there's this huge decisions made on that small group of people. And so how valuable, I mean, what number is the optimum number of a data set? Well, if it's a really specific data set, it might not to be need to be that big and has a huge value. So that's something I think all of us would probably want to look into and understand a little bit better. Because maybe you have a small group, but it's for whatever reasons, either it's been identified or what is the word, choreographed. to have a certain outcome. And maybe those that can choreograph data points for some reason that people will want to be part of that choreographed data point group might have something interesting. That's the neat thing that we can start to think about in this new frontier, is the idea that, before 1996 there was no such thing as digital marketing. Look at Google. Google is one of the most profitable. I mean, it's hugely profitable, and it's all from an industry that didn't exist before. So and that was the internet. And so now we have this. And so how many different business models, professions, that did not exist before this time are going to exist now moving forward? We don't even have a vocabulary of this industry. I don't know if you were who's a bit was around in 1996 or 95 or whatever it was, and there was um AOL and all these other things. Google didn't even exist. Nobody knew. There was a lot of speculation about this, that, or the other thing, and then after a while things kind of came out in the wash, and people were able to identify what things were, figure out what they were worth and what wasn't worth anything. So Matt, I see you got your hand up. Can you grab the mic now?
Yeah, I can. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And even though you're closing up, I kind of have a closing argument myself based on what some gentleman mentioned about his mom being an agent. But just like with you, John, and me myself, as far as AI is concerned, in my personal opinion, since it's still in its infancy, I wouldn't even worry about what the future holds with it because there's a lot of people that are way fucking farther in the journey than we are, if we're being honest, when it comes to building it, when it comes to, releasing it, whatever the case may be. If anybody's listening right now and you like just want to get ahead or just, have a better outlook on life, at the very least, just start a newsletter. Go on Beehive, start a newsletter up to 2,500 subscribers. It's free. Just write on shit Then once you get onto a paid format, you can go paid subscriptions, you can do boosts. All the ad revenue companies that are on social media, they are going to Beehive. There's a crap load of ads and investments that are going into Beehive. Tyler yesterday literally just released a new um, update where you can literally turn your newsletter publishing into a podcast that you can send to iTunes and Spotify. Just and there's prompts that you can use to write the newsletter in 2 hours max, maybe. And so long as I haven't done it myself because I work outside a lot. I'm a contractor, so I get really busy and tired because I'm in Arizona. So but yeah, as long as you're consistent with posting a newsletter, inevitably companies are going to come to you and run ads on your newsletter. And some of these packages are 10, 15, 20, 40, 50 grand each post. So just start one. There's only four niches: health, wealth, relationships, and entertainment. Everything else is a subset of those four, but just start one. It's free. Just start one.
Well, yeah, that's some great info. Are you using AI to do? You mentioned prompts in the newsletter, so tell us a little bit about Matt. Part of the space here is I got a couple of minutes left. Part of the space is a networking space, so we get to know each other. So what's Matt's story, and what are you doing now, and why are you here?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, like I said, I've been in the construction industry, heavy civil, for like past 6, 7 years, give or take. I've run heavy equipment, all that other good stuff. Had a lot of great times doing it. Now I obviously there's a push to go online, build a personal brand, make income online because of the absolute gangbusters leverage you have with it. Because again, you take Twitter for example, 500 million users. I mean, all you need is 1,000 of them. Not a big deal. That's kind of like big picture thinking. But my goal is to not only write a newsletter, but to show people how to write one, how to start it and make money with it. how to actually build their lifestyle around it and know exactly how many visitors they need at what conversion rate to actually pay for what they want. And then also I've spent a crap house full of money on like quote unquote gurus and, you know, marketing, meta ads, Google ads, copywriting, everything under the sun. So there's a lot of information I got, and I'm gonna release it in due time. But um, like those are pretty much the basics. I just want to help people that you know, just they don't like their job, or they like their job but they don't necessarily want to do it forever, or you know, they just want to make more stress-free money because everybody's telling, oh yeah, go hustle 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Because of the internet, you don't need to fucking do that anymore. You really don't. 5, 10 hours a week's a max, and you can make the income you want, guaranteed. It's There's so much leverage on social media and with these softwares, it's completely crazy. It's borderline bad shit crazy. Like a regular person that makes $15 an hour can literally sign up for Beehive, and then within 2 years of consistently putting out newsletters and making content, they can make $500,000. You know, I know that's big picture thinking that a lot of people don't really, they kind of scoff at it and think it's bullshit, but it's really not. Math doesn't lie. It'll never lie. So it's just consistency, showing up, and providing value. That's really it.
Awesome. Awesome. So it is 1:33. Thank you, everybody. The space is only as good as people that show up and that share. It's really great to hear from Ray. Of course, Andy, Torsum was wonderful. Matt, Lloyd, um, and then a lot of good people came through. So some really good gems. I transcript each show, and so this is an important show that I transcripted. I'm going to put it out to my newsletter. So if you want to get a concise breakdown of these episodes, go to my account and join my newsletter. I at some point I'm going to charge $3 for it or whatever, because the work I put into it, I take it very I take it very seriously, because I think this is really good space, and it really does put in a lot of information. And it's important that it's archived, that it's kind of put down for posterity usage, because this is happening once. This is happening once in the whole history of known time, of recorded time. You know, going back to Babylon and before that, and the village of Ur, you know, and Ishtar and the whole crew. You know, this is got to give it out to Horus and Autumn, and so there's a lot of on the shoulders of many we were brought here. So we got to put it down. We got to know what's going on, and so I transcribe these spaces, and then I convert them through my tools into the newsletter, and you know, all the stuff that's mentioned in these spaces by very smart people who are doing, or just they're very generous with their information. It's really kind of them to come in and share with us, and so then everybody gets access to it. But the only way you're going to get access to it on that level is you go to my account, you sign up for the newsletter, and then you're one of the lucky few who get in before it starts to cost money. So, and I don't know, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. Who knows? We'll figure that out. That was kind of cold for me to say that. I guess rambling. I do have fun rambling like this. I don't know what people think when I get into this flow zone, but I just kind of enjoy it. It makes all of this worthwhile that I can periodically just talk to the space, to the zone. And so, everybody, it is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday. It's all looking forward to the future. I think it's going to be wild. I think it's going to be positive. It's not going to be without difficulties, because nothing worth having is, and it is worth living while we're all alive. So get out there and enjoy life. And also, we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, for showing up today. And have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Same time, same place. Thank you.